What's up, nerds? Welcome along to live coverage of GP Sao Paulo, coming your way from sunny Brazil. My name's Ryan, and I'm joined by Paulo Vita Dama da Rosa, current Player of the Year, Hall of Famer. Done a couple of other things in your time.
I have.
While I was, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a joke. While I was checking in with Paulo about some of his magic achievements, he says, I've won a lot of F&Ms.
That's not true at all. I never said it, but I have. I have won a lot of F&Ms. And Imperial is this, but... Well, you asked. It's not like I start bragging about it.
No, that is true. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't leading me into that question. I did ask, but just what, Paulo, as we see Faithless Looting now for Alice and Abe, something that really struck me very special about that. You're one of the greatest players of all time. There's no denying that. But the pride in your voice when announcing to me, I've won a lot of F&Ms, like that really says something. You celebrate all the wins. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Street Wraith into a Faithless Looting, and sure enough, the Hollow One on turn number one. Alice and Abe playing. Well, this deck's a little newer as well in the format here, Paulo.
Yeah, it is, and it's a very interesting deck. It's a graveyard deck. It's based about it has Gormag Angler, it has Bloodghast, it has the Phoenix. So it really uses the graveyard a lot, but at the same time is not as reliant on it as a deck like Dredge. So you do have some normal games. For example, this game, Allison just played a 4-4 on turn one, and even if his graveyard's gone, which he won't be because game one, he'll still get a lot of power in play.
4-4 on turn one, nice way to do it. Here's the Thoughtseize, not the best card against these graveyard-based decks all the time, especially when they're happy to be discarding their cards all the same. So we've got a land that's not going to be taken, of course. Gormag Angler, Lightning Bolt by the look of things, and another card hidden away that looks like a Flameblade Adept. Paulo, based on Duarte's start here of Marsh Flats into Swamp, how likely do you think it is that Hebei has knowledge of what Duarte's playing here?
I mean, it could be a variety of decks, but they're all very similar. Mm-hmm. So like Jund, Mardu, Abzan are all decks that could have this start. But at the same time, it doesn't really change how you play. If you're playing around your opponent being Jund and they're Abzan or Mardu, it doesn't really matter. Now we know he is Mardu, and I think Mardu is the most popular of this flavor of deck by a lot, both in general and this week here specifically. So yeah, I think he should just have no trouble putting his opponent on Mardu.
Well, let's see how things go now as we see a Flamewake Phoenix come back from the bin thanks to that Hollow One. Duarte's going to have a quick read of the card here. This one, a kind of weird niche card from Fate Reforged. Didn't see a lot of play in Standard. I mean, it was a bit of a role player, but it certainly found a nice home here. Plenty of 4-power creatures to bring it back with in Hollow One.
Yeah, and it's the combination of, you already have so many ways of putting it in the graveyard with Faithless Looting, Goblin Lore, Burning Inquiry. And then on top of that, you also have a lot of cheap 4-4s and 5-5s. So you can both put it in the graveyard and animate it very easily.
Hebei here with an enormous board already. Just a young Pyromancer for Duarte. The jig's certainly up here. As we know now, it is Mardu Pyromancer. Of course, we knew that from the beginning, but Hebei's going to be clued into that a little bit more strongly now. Really has gone pretty well for them so far.
Yeah, and this game, it's going to be super hard for Bruno to come back from. He's already at such a low life total, and most of those Mardu decks don't play any sweepers. So I don't really think there's a way out of it for him. He has to kill so many creatures. He has 2 lands in play.
Geez, here's another one as well, Tussk of the Golden Fang, and something that, yes, these decks aren't great at doing, especially when playing from behind, is dealing with big creatures. Bruno Duarte recognizes the jig is up and has to pack it up.
Yeah, and that is, a pretty bad matchup for Mardu in game one. Because even if you can somehow deal with, this much power this early in the game, the cards just come back. And there's no way to get rid of them forever. So after sideboarding, we can see, some sort of graveyard hate, like maybe a Leyline of the Void, a Nihil Spellbomb, and then you can actually beat like a Bloodghast.
Well, let's talk about Graveyard Hate and its role in Modern, because it's something that's actually really important. So many cards, so many decks rely on Graveyard Recursion or Graveyard Synergies or, what have you. And there are so many different options when it comes to Graveyard Hate post-board. So what are going to be the important cards in this matchup specifically?
Well, I think Graveyard Hate is something that you can play at various degrees. So if you think, okay, I'm never going to beat Dredge unless I have a card that specifically beats them, then you need something like Leyline of the Void, because it has to win the game single-handedly. But if you need some help exiling like a Bloodghast or a Prized Amalgam, or maybe some case hack card, then you can play Surgical Extraction. Or you can play Rakdos Charm, which we see in Duarte's Sideboard, I believe. You can go very all in your Hate, or try to play a worse card that is more flexible. I think those are two valid strategies, and it depends on how much of a dog you are if you don't have those cards. So if your matchup is a little bit bad, then you can do it for a more versatile card like a Rakdos Charm that you can also board in against Affinity, for example. But if your matchup is horrible against those decks, then you need the big guns. You need like a Leyline and Rest in Peace.
You need something that's a little bit heavier hitting, and you have to sacrifice that flexibility for just raw power to really bring your deck up to speed.
Yeah, precisely.
So we saw Duarte. He brought in a Surgical Extraction and a Nihil Spell Bomb, and you said you saw a Rakdos Charm as well?
I think I saw it in his sideboard. I don't know if you brought it in, but I would assume he would, because it kills Hollow One and it exiles the graveyard, so it seems perfect.
Seems very good. And also, important to note, I think Rakdos Charm actually might be a great pick this weekend, because we saw more Kiki Jiki last weekend in Barcelona than we've seen for months and months, Paulo.
Oh, really?
And so if when they Kiki Jiki out a billion squid in Restoration Angels, and you just Rakdos Charm them?
Yeah, I
Seems
mean,
pretty
that
good.
works.
Seems pretty good.
And people, if they're like really savvy, they might play around that, and they'll only make as many tokens as they need, and they won't die if, depending on life totals. But some people are just like, yeah, I'll make 100.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, kill you. And they're like, oh, maybe I should have just made 8, given that you are 8 life or whatever. So yeah, it is definitely a card that can catch people off guard. And sometimes you're playing against Living End and you bring it in because it's a Graveyard Hate card, but then they Living End 5 creatures in play at the same time, and are like, okay, take 5, you're dead. So it is a card with a lot of different applications, as are most charms.
Yeah, sometimes the flavor text mode on the charm can actually really do some work.
Yeah, it definitely can.
Like Azorius Charm, every now and again you just blow them out by giving all your creatures lifelink. It's like, what? Since when does the card do that?
Yeah, no, for sure. And people have played cards like Piracy Charm.
Oh yeah.
They like to kill Dark Confidant, and all of a sudden they're like, I'll give my creature Island Walk, or whatever. You're like, what's Island Walk? I don't even know what that ability. It definitely does come up, and it pays off to know the narrow modes of your cards, especially in Modern, where those weird situations do come up.
I think it's a good piece of advice generally. I mean, let's not get too technical and leave the viewers in the dust here, Paulo, with really high-level Magic advice. But are you saying generally it's a good idea to read the cards that you're playing and understand what they do?
Normally, yes.
Normally, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do it all the time.
No.
Some decks you don't need it, but as a general rule, I would say that yes, knowing what your cards do is great.
Is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay,
yes.
all right, excellent. Well, there you go. High level pro strats here with Paulo Vita Dama de Rosa. And round number 2 of Grand Prix Sao Paulo, both Bruno Duarte and Alison Hebei at 1-0 at this point. And this sideboarding, oh my goodness me, we've seen civilizations rise and fall. Ice ages have come and gone. Glaciers have ground across the earth in the time that it's taken these two players to sideboard and shuffle up. And, well, look, easy breezy. That's the Brazilian lifestyle, man.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, just to go back to your point about knowing your own cards, you'd be surprised how many pros don't actually know what their own cards do.
Oh, really?
A lot of the time, yeah.
Without,
I mean, myself included sometimes.
Oh, really? I was going to say, without naming names, can you perhaps shed some light onto this one here?
Oh, but basically everyone. I mean, it's happened so much.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was playing a Legacy tournament, and then my opponent played a Leovold.
Uh-huh.
And Leovold is like a really complicated card. And I'm like, I read it, I'm like, okay, I figured out what it does. I play the Jace.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I can't draw cards because Leovold doesn't lam it, and then I can't bounce it because they'll draw a card. So I'll just Fate Seal them, and they're like, I'll draw a card. I'm like, what? It also does that. There's so many abilities.
Because you target them, yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And people, if you don't play that format very much, you just don't know. And then you only make this kind of mistake once.
Yeah, of course. But, yeah, and then that's the best way to learn, huh?
Well, it's the one where the lesson is most engraved in your mind after.
Blackleaf Flip's going to power to Faithless Looting. Oh, look at this. Duarte on that Faithless Looting tip as well here. Draw 2, discard 2. Really like this card in Modern. I think it's at a perfect power level to enable some pretty degenerate decks, Faithless Looting. I think it's a really important card in the format.
Yeah, Bruno's are a lot worse than Allison's, though, because Allison is actively throwing cards in the graveyard that he wants in the graveyard, and Bruno is just using them for, filtering, and, it kind of feels Battle Unraveler as well, except it didn't because he discarded 2 lands, but I think, when Bruno plays it, when Mardu Paramaster plays it, it's a fair card. And when Allison plays it, it's not a fair card.
That's a good way to look at it, actually, yeah. I like the card a lot. These 1 mana... Well, whoa, okay. Wow, that's a real... Wow, wooded fields.
Glacial Worm.
Fetching the collective Pan Glacial Worm there. Stomach right now for Hebei. See what his first turn can be. It is a Lightning Bolt, okay, a respectable play there. Now into his turn 2. Hasn't been the explosive start that we've come to expect here, but a Goblin Lore could change that. Let's spin the wheel here.
Yeah, I mean, this deck is all about spinning the wheel.
So Grandmother Goblin says, "Come, child, sit on my knee. Let me regale you with the song of our people. Draw 4, discard 3 here."
Are they going to do like the various low and pointless dice thing, or are they just going to do it like real humans and just pick the cards?
No, yep, you're going to just...
Oh, okay. I love that. I love it.
Yep, look at this, just picking numbers out as we've seen it shuffled, and away goes an Ancient Grudge and a land, and another card there that I don't quite see. That's a Flameblade Adept there. And Hebei with nothing. The Hollow 0 this time.
Yeah, it is the Hollow 0.
Rough stuff there for Hebei. We'll move back now to Duarte, see what he's up to here.
And it's interesting to see Ancient Grudge, because Bruno's deck doesn't play artifacts, right? It could. Some people sideboard. I've seen like a Snaring Breach, for example. There's a card that you could have. I don't know if he does have it. And it can also randomly hit, Nihil Spellbomb or Relic of Progenitus. Obviously, it's not great at hitting any of those.
Seems bad.
But I think this is just Allison, not wanting to flat out lose to an Snaring Bridge.
Yeah.
So he boards in the Ancient Grudge, even though he isn't even sure Bruno has it.
But I think that's one of the things that the Hollow 1 deck can do a lot, in a way that is a lot more forgiving than other decks, because of course they've got the Burning Inquiries, they've got the Faithless Lootings, they've got the Goblin Laws, and having a card that is fine to discard almost all the time, like still live, discarding an Ancient Grudge to flashback and destroy an artifact is pretty good. I don't know, I like it as a reasonably safe hedge.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you have lootings and the Goblin Lords and the Inquiries. Obviously, you don't control those, but yeah, overall, it's much easier to play a card like that when you have ways of getting rid of it.
Here's a Gurmag Angler now, coming down on turn 3, a bit fairer, you would think, than last time, but a Goblin Lore as well. Any reason to play that after having committed the 5/5 to the board there?
Well, he just doesn't want to discard the Gurmag Angler.
Okay.
That's the best card that is the card he wants to play this turn anyway, regardless of what he draws. So he just wants to make sure he can just play it and not discard it instead. So. Because it is the worst when you play Goblin Lore, you're like, I'm going to play so many Hollow Ones this turn, and you just look and they're all in the graveyard. And you're like, well, that's awkward.
How many now? Any Hollow Ones? No. All right, we'll see if Hebei has any to play. Oh, my goodness, never lucky. Hashtag never lucky, Paulo. You just can't catch a break, this fella.
Yeah, never lucky, except for like last game where he had 13 power on turn 2 or something.
Always lucky. Here's a Terminate now. Get rid of that 5/5. This is much better stuff from Duarte. Doing a much better job of keeping a lid on things and adopting a much more controlling role here as well.
I think he has to. But at the same time, the control role is kind of doomed to failure if it just goes on forever, unless there is a good graveyard hate card. Because, that Phoenix might come back at some point. Addison has a Bloodghast that will definitely come back. So it's hard to out-control Hollow 1.
Duarte needs a more permanent answer, something like that Nihil Spellbomb that we saw. Here's a third Goblin Lore now. 4 more cards off the top, and I have to say, I really like the way that Hebei plays this out. None of this die rolling, fiddly fighting around with different stuff, just a big stack of cards. Name 3 of them, my friend. Look at this, and I love that he holds it as well.
Yeah, that's what I like to see.
Oh dear, another Ancient Grudge here, in addition to the Faithless Looting, Leyline of the Void hitting the bin, and still no Hollow Ones?
Yeah, and still nothing, really.
Yeah.
Like, Allison's had a Bloodghast in his hand since the first Goblin Lore.
Just can't discard it?
Yeah.
Oh, rough stuff here. Cycling away a Street Wraith here. Off the top, oh my goodness, a Flamewake Phoenix. Just can't catch a break. I mean, Allison can also cast the Bloodghast. It's a legal game action.
Yeah, he most definitely can. He's probably thinking whether it's worth taking, 2 extra damage to cast a Bloodghast because he might only play 1 swamp. So he would have to fetch a dual land to cast it. And then if he does draw Burning Inquiry or Goblin Lore or Fateless Looting, it's much better to have it in his hand.
Duarte now having a good old think about how he's going to navigate this turn. Looks like it's going to be a Faithless Looting being flashbacked. Flashbacked? Flashed back. We were talking earlier about how easy it is to speak English, Paulo, and
it is so much easier than any other language.
I don't know if I agree with you, mate. I've been speaking it 29 years and I'm still not getting a great... Okay, I'm giving myself way too much credit there. I wasn't speaking English when I was 0. Let's back up a little bit here. Let's say 28 years. 2 cards in the bin now, Young Pyromancer and a Collective Brutality. And Duarte not looking to hold on to one of the premier threats in his deck there in the Pyromancer.
Yeah, I think he kept a Collective Brutality in hand. Oh, that was already in the graveyard? Okay, so that's why Allison I didn't see that was in the graveyard. That's why he didn't play the Bloodghast.
Okay.
Because he just knew he was going to be able to discard it if he wanted to.
Oh, double Bloodghast hitting the bin here. So this land's going to bring both of them back. This is good stuff here for Hebei, who's really struggling to get on the board. Excuse me. Back to Duarte now, who doesn't have a whole lot going on. I can see Colligan's Command in hand, in addition to that Collective Brutality, and a Bedlam Reveler as well, which at the moment has a bit of a discount.
Yeah, not as much as you would want, though.
No.
It's, as far as, this is what, turn 6? And it's going to cost 6 mana? Yeah. So it's, as far as, the Revelers go, it's pretty expensive.
Bit of a clunker there, for sure. Here's a Young Pyromancer. We'll see what Hebei's response is to it. Feel like doesn't fire off the Collective Brutality here.
Yeah, Brutality isn't particularly great versus Hollow One.
It's not at all.
It doesn't kill anything that you actually want to kill.
So now these Bloodghasts can get frisky here. Young Pyromancer, not a great defensive option in the face of opposing 2/1s, especially as it's the sort of card you want to stick around for turns to start chaining those instants and sorceries together.
Yeah, for sure. And, Allison even has a fetch land in play already. So, yeah, even, Bruno can make a bunch of blockers, but at some point, he'll just run out of them, and Allison will just not run out of creatures. Which is the real strength of this Hollow One deck. Again, there was an interesting Twitter debate on whether Hollow One was an affinity deck that had some consistency, like some late game options of recursive, or whether it was a dredge deck that had some explosive draws like affinity. So is it affinity with a touch of dredge, or is it dredge with a touch of affinity?
Yeah, right, in terms of the overall thrust of the deck, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of what's your main game plan is, and what is the secondary game plan. And the way I view it is I view it as a dredge deck with a touch of affinity.
Right, so ultimately it's looking to exploit graveyard synergies and grind people out, but then has the random upside of 4/4/4s on turn 1.
Yeah, it is capable of those busted draws, but it does not need those busted draws.
Yeah.
Like against a lot of the format, it's enough to just do your grindy thing, and then you win. And this is one of those matchups. Like Allison did nothing in the first 4 turns of the game. His first creature he played on turn 5, it was a 2/1, and that's fine. Because even his recursive parts haven't done very well this time around, and I think that's just fine.
Collective Brutality now casting, being escalated, I should say, with a Faithless Looting. Looks like Duarte has a response, however.
Yeah, it is a Colligan's Command, and I assume that is just gonna,
It's not going to work out well for Duarte here, though, because Hebei does have a Hollow One in hand. Holding on to that Shatter is going to be enormously beneficial, but doesn't look like Duarte. He's committed to it. That's a shame.
Yeah, and normally you don't even want to make Hollow One discard a card because they want to discard cards anyway. But Allison just had the opportunity to discard cards with Collective Brutality, and he chose to discard a Fateless Looting, which is not the card you would choose if you had other cards you want to discard. If you had Bloodghast, for example, you obviously discard the Bloodghast. So I think actually making Allison discard here is an okay choice.
Whoa. Duarte's just put that Young Pyromancer back in his hand.
Oh, he just put.
Whoa! We need to get this. We need to get this fixed straight away because Bruno Duarte has put the Young Pyromancer in his hand rather than in the bin. So we're going to get that fixed right here. A bit of a misstep there from Duarte because that Young Pyromancer was supposed to go straight to the bin. It was of course given -2/-2 by the Collective Brutality there. and he's accidentally put it back in his hand after having cast the Kolaghan's command in response. So judges on hand sorting this situation out there, but bit of a brain fart there for Duarte here.
Yeah, and Alisson just looked at the hand and didn't notice either.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing, you're so caught up in the moment and you're not even, like, it doesn't ever cross your mind.
So it seems like play is continuing here. Have we missed something?
I don't know. Maybe it was the one he brought back with. But I believe he had.
No, but then there still should be one.
In hand.
No. There should still be a young pyromancer in the bin.
Oh, there is one.
So he targeted. No. There were 2 young pyromancers in the graveyard before. He targeted one.
If there were 2 in the graveyard, there should be 2 in the graveyard still.
So there should be one in the there should be 2 total in the graveyard, 1 in hand, because he had 3 cards in hand. He had 3 cards in hand. He had a Collective Brutality, a Bedlam Reveler, and a young pyromancer.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
And there were 2 young. There was a young pyromancer in the bin, 1 in hand, one on the battlefield. The one on the battlefield got shocked.
Yeah, I mean, if there were 2 in the bin, there should be 2 in the bin right now.
Yes, exactly.
And just as a point that we were making, in the time we were discussing this, Alisson added 30 power to the board.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry,
and
let's not forget.
We didn't even see what happened. It was like,
didn't even address that.
How did that? That was so sudden.
So it looks like what's happened here is Duarte has gone to shortcut because, of course, shocking the young pyromancer on the battlefield. And while he's regrowing one from the bin, he may as well just it doesn't matter. Functionally, it doesn't matter which one actually goes back to hand because they all do the same thing. But he's accidentally returned one from the hand return one from the bin while also
returned one
from play. So, yeah, a mistake there. And it looks like Duarte isn't aware of the mistake that he's made here. And
it looks like nobody is.
It looks like even
Alisson is just like, hey, you're dad, it doesn't matter, but...
We're getting an update from the floor, which I'll bring to you as we get it here. So Willie Adel has come and given us an update that apparently he attempted to shortcut by bringing back a young pyromancer from the graveyard. But that is not correct because he definitely had 2 young pyromancers in the bin. He absolutely 100% did. And so he should not have this young...
Oh, he really did, because I know Alisson bolted his pyromancer.
He bolted the first pyromancer.
And he discarded one for Failures Looting, and we even talked about it. Like, you remember, you said he discarded his biggest threat or whatever.
Well, the game is continuing, ladies and gentlemen, and there are now 2 young pyromancers in play. I can't believe it. Paulo Vida Dama Rosa can't believe it. But that's the game of Magic, my friends. So here we go now. Hebei still in a commanding position with an enormous number of threats in play, it has to be said. So maybe even that free young pyromancer isn't going to be enough here for Bruno Duarte. But wow, that one is a real head scratcher for me, Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance we're wrong. My interpretation is the same as yours. Maybe that card was just hidden in his hand, but I distinctly remember 2 young pyromancers being put in the graveyard.
Yep.
So there should still be 2 in there. But
well, that's the way that it goes. And right now, as you mentioned, Hebei just dumping a huge number of power and toughness onto the battlefield. That hollow one was just huge here because, of course, it meant that double Flamewake Phoenix coming back as quite a respectable air force there, Paulo.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, Alisson is a player that if you're not from Brazil, you might not know.
Oh, yeah,
even if you are from Brazil, you might not know because he doesn't play as much, but he's really good. No, you get what I mean, right? The good people all know him.
Yeah.
He's really good, but he doesn't play much, so you might not see him at every tournament. Mm-hmm. But, he's top 8 at international GPs, he top 8 at GP in Sweden, for example.
Yeah, right.
And he was, a member of the Brazilian national team a couple of times. And he's just really, really good. He might be the most underrated Brazilian player, in Brazil, I think. I think he's very, very good.
Good Mag Angler, now the follow-up play for Hebei. Something I want to ask you about here. Now, obviously, Hebei playing with Portuguese cards, Portuguese being the language spoken here in Brazil. And it looks like Hollow One has a very short name. The Portuguese name for Hollow One is just Oko?
Yeah, Oko, yeah. That means hollow.
Oh, so not even hollow, just hollow.
Yeah, if a sphere that's empty inside, it's Oka. because there's nothing inside.
So it has just an adjective for a name.
Yes, basically.
Its name is just hollow.
Yeah.
All right.
It would be like, tall or nice.
Yeah.
Or hollow or big. Yeah, it's just an adjective for a name. It's not even the hollow.
Does it make sense?
Medium.
Medium sense. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, does hollow one make sense?
Yeah, it's the one that is hollow.
Yeah, but what does it?
Hollow one. Well, one is a noun, so you can.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a legend to me.
There's an element of sort of uniqueness to it. But you could say something like handsome one for me, or talented one for you, or
Okay.
tall one for you as well. Surprisingly. So, Paulo, I don't know if you know, there's an interesting bit of trivia. Actually, not even trivia, but obviously before I met you, I'd listened to your videos and all that sort of stuff like that. You've got quite a high voice. And then when I met you, you're like 190 centimeters tall.
Yeah, no, less than that, like 188 or something.
You're very tall.
Yeah, that's
very
like
tall fella.
6'2" for US audience.
4.3 cubits. Really tall dude for someone with a voice that is, I thought you were like a little jockey. I thought I'd be able to like pick you up and carry you on my back, but oh no.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
People come up to me and they're like, wow, you're so much taller than I imagined. And I'm not that tall. I'm not like Huey or Marshall, but people just expect me to be tiny.
Yeah.
I'm not tiny.
No, you're a big boy. You're a big boy.
I am a big boy.
Speaking of big boys now, we do have a big boy at last for Bruno Duarte. It's a 3-4 in the form of a Bedlam Reveler. Metamorphose as well.
Yeah, it's not even the biggest boy, though.
No,
there are just so many bigger boys.
There are lots of very, very big boys here. Big boy magic here between Bruno Duarte and Alison Hebei. And, what has Duarte got to do here to stage a comeback, Paulo? There aren't many things that are going to get him out of this particular mess, but I tell you what, he's digging for them pretty hard.
I mean, I doubt he'll find them. Unless Alison just draws a card that isn't in his deck or something, there's no way he's going to win that game. Like, if we had control of the advantage bar, it would just be, it's Alison's game already. I think he's just going to die now.
Yeah, you need an extra wide screen. You need one of those screens you see at the TV shops that have like a super round. They're kind of curved.
Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah,
you'd need one of them if the advantage bar was happening here.
And we see Blood Moon in Bruno Duarte's deck still.
He's kept it in.
Yeah, he's kept it in, which is not super conventional.
Two of them even.
It's not a great card against Hollow One. Like it does have applications. They can't manually cast Bloodghast, or it's harder for them to bring it back. They can't crack fetches, so Gormagingler is harder to play. But if they ever get to fetch for a swamp, then it's just not worth a card.
I mean, are there any double black cards apart from Bloodghast? It doesn't seem very good.
Not likely, yeah.
Jeez,
it can be good if you catch an off guard and they haven't fetched a swamp yet, and then they just can't cast a black card. But if they've ever fetched a swamp at any point, it's more likely to hurt you than help you.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
This deck is also full of non-basics, and sometimes you want to cast a white spell or two black spells in the same turn. If you have Blood Moon, you can't. So I don't like that being in his deck still.
Yeah, I feel like it should probably come out post-board. I mean, Blood Moon is just, what a card. I love this card. I love it.
You do? Why?
I love game one. Because it's just, there's no better feeling. You Blood Moon them. You just, if they're on the draw, if they're like, they have 2 shocklands out or something, or they can't fetch a basic and you moon them?
I can think of so many better feelings.
I don't know. What, seeing, Mulan, the musical, live in concert?
For sure. Or just seeing it on TV. That's so much better already. But like playing a Hollow One on turn 1, that's so much better already.
You think so?
It feels like you're doing something as opposed to ruining everyone's fun. You're like the grumpy old man, get off my lawn or something with your known basics.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Oh, no.
I don't like it one bit.
Well, I'll tell you also doesn't like it here. It's Bruno Duarte, a flashback, Lingering Souls. Not enough in the face of Alison Hebei's game. There was a lightning bolt as well to push through enough damage. And ultimately, Duarte, just never really looked to be in it. I didn't like the sideboarding approach too much with those Blood Moons not really doing anything. Obviously didn't draw any of the graveyard hate that he needed, but after a really slow start, Hebei just able to grind it out pretty impressively, Paulo.
Yeah, it is what this deck does, right?
Well, that's the way that it goes there in round number 2, my friends, as we bring it back to the booth. Riley Knight here with PVDDR. It's great to have your company here for this Brazilian GP. We're off to a flyer already with this format, well, full of twists and turns, some surprises that we don't necessarily always anticipate, but hey, that's the way that it goes sometimes, Paulo.
Yeah, and it will happen a lot in this format because, again, you can play anything. You can play, whatever version of anything that you want. You can play whatever way you want. It's very hard to predict.
Yeah, you can play whichever way you want, it seems. Anyway, my friends, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back on the other side of this, of course, with Time Walk Magic, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you back here in Brazil at Sao Paulo after this. Welcome back to the tournament floor here at GP Sao Paulo. Great to have you along. My name's Riley, joined by the current player of the year, Paulo Vitor Dama-da-Rosa. My friends, we have Time Walk Magic coming your way in round number 2. We are going to get underway with more of, showcasing a format that is very near and dear to my heart. Some people have already noticed, Paulo, that perhaps you're not the biggest fan of this as a tournament format, but I think we should probably clear up the record here. There's a lot you still like about Modern, because we were talking about this earlier.
Oh yeah, for sure. There are a lot of great qualities in it. Like the fact that you can just pick a deck and you can play it, and you can play it for 5 years if you want. And I think that's amazing. You can just go to your store, and the deck that you've been playing for so long, it's still legal. You can, become the best player of that deck that you can be. You can focus on it. That's great.
Yeah.
And if you want to play aggro, you can. Control, you can. Combo, you can. Mid-range, you can. Anything in between. You can always play anything that you want. And for that particular thing, is the best format in Magic by a lot.
Yeah.
There's no other format in which you can play whatever you want and still have a chance to succeed. Like, you can do that in Legacy, but you're not going to win. In Modern, you are going to win, and that's the great thing about this format.
Before you talked about the fact that there are, you said like 30 viable decks. And when we say viable, we mean there are upwards of 20, 30 decks that you could conceivably win a tournament like this one, a massive GP.
Yeah, I mean viable for me. Not viable for FNM, because every deck is viable for FNM. You just go, you have fun.
But
you're going to be
30.
But viable to play at the Pro Tour. Like you see people playing those decks at the Pro Tour all the time. They are viable decks. So yeah, it is a lot.
Well, we're going to see some more of those decks. Right now, it's time for some Time Walk Magic. So let's get to it and check out what was going on at our other tables during coverage of round number 2 here at GP Sao Paulo. Let's get underway with game number 1 between Aloha Rezende and Vitor Pizynski. That is not a Brazilian name. I knew you were going to be here to help me with some of the trickier pronunciation. Any tips on or insights here?
I mean, I believe that is Polish, if I had to guess.
Yep.
So no, but we'll call him Pizynski.
Pizynski?
Well, Pizynski. You don't have to do that. I don't think that's how it's pronounced.
Here's Oko now for Pizynski.
Yeah.
Follow one. And Rezende here. Oh dear. Oh no. It's Tron.
It is. Do you not like Tron?
No. I mean, you're, for someone with the proclivities that I have for playing, the decks that I enjoy playing in Modern, namely blue-white base control, Tron is. It's not a. I mean, things have gotten a lot better now with Field of Ruin in addition to Spreading Seas and that sort of stuff in blue-white. But no, Tron's a real stinker in my book.
Yeah, that sounds like someone whose favorite card is Blood Moon.
Oh yeah. Oh, give me the Blood Moons. Give me them all day, especially against this bad boy. So kicking things off now with a Chromatic Sphere, by the look of things, Sphere here for Rezende. He does have at least one more Tron land in his hand. And Pizynski
of course he does.
Of course, he's got all 3.
I mean, if it's not in his hand, it's definitely on top.
They always have it, don't they, Paulo?
They certainly do.
They always have it.
Yeah.
And Goblin Law is going to get some dice rolling now. 1, 2, and 3 cards hitting the bin. 5 cards remaining. I
really like this Goblin Lore thing of just picking 3 cards. No one knows what the cards are anyway. Just shuffle them and pick them up. Because I die. Let's roll a D20. If it's from 1 to 3, they're like, oops, reroll. I really don't like that.
You don't have time, mate. You're busy. You got places to go. You got people to see.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, busy man. Don't have time for rolling dice. Here's now the sphere being cracked.
And we have a funny story about random discard we were talking about last night. Actually, there was a card, I don't remember its name, but it was a Prowl card that if you hit with a rogue, it costs 1 mana.
Yep.
And then they discard 2 random cards. And then my friend was playing, and your opponent attack with the rogue, tap the mana and cast that. He had 6 cards in hand. And they go, okay, they go roll dice, he takes the whole thing, discards 2 cards, pick up 4 cards. The guy's like, play another one.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, roll dice, the whole thing takes so long. And they're like, okay, play the third one. Discard your whole hand anyway.
Are you kidding?
They're like, yeah. And my friend is like, I did not like that. I didn't enjoy it.
Jeez. And that's just theft of time. That's just a time thief. He's just stolen however many seconds it took to resolve all that.
Well, it's not really a time thief because when you steal something, you have it. And I feel like he didn't really have it. He's just a time destroyer, a time killer.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah, so that time will never come back, and it didn't go to anyone.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sure he enjoyed it, though.
Actually, yeah, there's probably a little bit of utility that was gained in that exchange. Here's a Collective Brutality now, going to escalate it, discarding a Bloodcast. Gain 2, you lose 2, and let's have a look at what's in that hand, my friend. Rezende is going to regret not having cast that Sylvan Scrying.
Yeah, he did have another Trumpet in him, but it was the same one.
Oh, no.
I know, it's so unusual. Yeah. There are 2 Sylvan Scrying, so he's not going to lose one.
Fatal Push also there, but Fatal Push, well, it's a bit medium against Pizynski's Hollow 1 deck. It kind of acts as like a very rubbish fog most of the time.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's a real stinker. I mean, you know, it'll save you 2 life, 3, 4 life off it hits maybe a Flame Blade add-up, but most of these threats just come straight back again for another tilt.
Yeah, actual fog would be good, I think.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you just be like, fog, I have an extra turn, I can play, you know, my O-Stone or something. Well, he took it anyway.
Wow. All right. No fear here as these Bloodghasts come across. Now, a card that Rezende has that is going to be really good if he can get it to do some work is that Ugin there.
Well, that's a long ways off. Yeah, and Victor just has a 2-turn clock here because he's going to deal 6.
But that's fine. Rezende just draws Tron Land.
And then Fast Bond.
Oh, yeah, he's dead, isn't he? Yeah. Oops.
I mean, obviously he's going to draw the Tron Lands. We know that, but he's not even going to have time to play them.
Wow, all right. So Pizynski really in the driver's seat here. 6 damage coming across just like that. Those Bloodghasts now have haste. So the old post-combat haste creature is...
See, there's the first Tron Land. We knew it.
Yeah, easy.
And, you know, he's dead now, but we're going to see what the next card is.
Oh, Expedition.
I'm sure the next card is
the next card would have been what he needed as well. Yeah. So this is unfortunate here for Rezende, as we see Sylvan Scrying going to fetch that final Tron piece, but it's too little, too late now by the look of things, because with the single colorless mana, there's not anything that Rezende is going to be able to do to hold off this onslaught. And Pizynski really showed us, Paulo, gave us a little bit of a glimpse as to what that explosive Hollow 1 start looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, this type of start, it makes us understand why he took the Fatal Push, because if he hadn't, he would take 1 extra turn to kill his opponent.
There you go.
Because he would just Fatal Push the Phoenix. But
so
yeah,
Fatal Push, best card in the matchup.
I guess it would have been the best card in that spot.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, so based on that, we can extrapolate.
We can.
Best card in the matchup. Well, not quite. I'm sure they've been taken out for game number 2 now, of course, with the magic of editing. We don't have to watch a laborious sideboarding process, and we are off to the races already. Expedition map kicking things off for Rezende. Looks like he had to mulligan.
Yeah, it looks like he had to mulligan multiple times. So it really sped up our process, because he would have been shuffling for a long time. I believe he mulliganed to 5.
Yeah, looks like it as a Flame Blade adept now. For Pizynski, we'll see how much he can pump this little fella up. Just a little 1-2 at the moment, but I'm sure stands to grow ever larger. Pizynski, well, failing to find here. Nope, there's that Stompo. Get that into play, he says. And what are the percentages here? What are we looking at? Rezende, is he on what? 5%, 2%, 1%?
Oh, definitely more than 1%, but...
1.5%?
I mean, it's not like Victor's draw was great. You know, I don't know what's in his hand. Maybe he just really wanted to kill that map, which I understand. You know, you don't want to... The only way that Rezende comes back from this is by finding Tron relatively quickly and then playing a big thing. So if you can play a card that makes it harder for him to find Tron, then that's worth taking a turn off, which is what Victor did. But I don't know if he took a turn off from something. It looks like he did, yeah. Could have cast Goblin Lore. But I like his play here, and yeah, I think Victor he's a huge favorite, but you can never count Tron out when it's not facing any pressure.
It's going to be facing a little bit of pressure this turn at least. This Flameblade Adept's going to get in for 4. Ooh.
Yeah, that is true.
It's a big hit here now with Goblin Lore, potentially enabling some other shenanigans. We could see some Hollow ones. We could see a Flamewake Phoenix come back.
Yeah, that does work. I believe there is a Gurmag Angler in Victor's hand that didn't get discarded.
Okay, it's a nice start here for him.
But if he does not have a fetch land, he has to choose between that Bloodghast and the Gurmag Angler this turn. If he does have a fetch land, he gets both. Because he needs 6 cards in the graveyard.
Well, let's see.
Personally, if I'm him, I'm just playing the Gurmag Angler if that is my choice. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't care about the resource as much as you care about the time, but it looks like he does have a fetch land, so that would work great for him.
Living life on easy street here, Pizynski.
Yeah, he does have to exile, I believe. There's a Fateless Looting in there, but, you know, who cares?
Yeah, just get it done. Here comes the Adept now, in for 4, thanks to the discarding of Goblin Lore there. This little piece of draft chaff is all of a sudden a modern all-star. Not what I expected to see.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And yeah, you know, we actually tried that card in Standard for the past PT. Yeah, with Flame of Keld.
Oh,
and you discard your hand. And sometimes, and it has manas, so if it's hitting for 1, it's hitting for 3 at least in the turn the flame goes off. So just having a cheap creature with mana presents a lot of damage. And sometimes you have 2 of them, you play Flame of Kel, discard 5 cards, they take 12.
It's one of those cards in the Flame of Kel deck. Obviously, you want as many individual sources of damage as possible. So you want really cheap cards as well that you can deploy before you discard your hand. So yeah, Flameblade Adapter certainly it ticks both of those boxes.
Yeah, and here, very interesting. Vitor chose to keep Ancient Grudge as opposed to returning Bloodghast. Which is, it depends on what he has in hand. If he has more discard outlets, it does not represent a 1-turn loss in his clock. But it could, depending on what he has. But yeah, just, trying to play around, I guess, Oblivion Stone here. But the thing is that Oblivion Stone, it can only be activated the following turn if Rezende has Tron. And if Rezende has Tron, then he can just play the stone and activate it in the same turn because he will have at least 8 mana.
Goblin Hall once again is going to turn that Adept into a huge threat. And yeah, the cost for O-Stone is 3 to cast, 4 to put a counter on something, and 5 to blow up the world. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense there because Rezende's never going to have enough mana anyway.
Yeah, unless he has Tron, in which case he doesn't have to play the stone that turn. He can just play the stone the turn he's going to activate it.
Or just, slam an Ugin if he's got the swamp as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Ugin seems really good.
Yeah, it is.
If you can cast it.
It is not as good against Hollow One because, Hollow One doesn't die to it because it's colorless.
That's true.
And cards like Gurma Angler are just too expensive. Even though it costs 1 to cast, it actually costs 7. So it's not as good as it could be in a matchup like this, but it's still going to be a good card a lot of the time. But it doesn't look like his clock will be hurt.
So Gerbang Angler number 2 now for Pizynski, and he is still keeping that Ancient Grudge in the bin. Had the option of playing out the Angler for 1 there, but obviously nothing else to do with his mana. Has he got another Grudge in hand, or is that a Burning Inquiry?
I don't think it's a Grudge. He wouldn't be as protective of that Grudge if it was.
The one in the bin.
I mean, yeah, at this point, he's kind of just, I'll play around something like Ensnaring Bridge. Like, it's not going to exist, but, I mean, in theory it could, and he does protect himself from that.
Here's the Thoughtseize now. Pizynski looking to slam those nails into the coffin, and Rezende cracking his sphere in response, and now casts a... What was that?
That was a Nature's Claim, I believe. So he kills, he destroys his turret and
gain some life.
Gains some life. But you know what we talked about, the time thieves or the time incinerators.
Yeah.
Like, he's not gonna forget to attack. You're at 10. He has 11 power. He knows your hand. You have nothing.
Are you not gonna do the real life F6 and then F6 again? No, doesn't. That's not how it happens.
But to each its own. I'd have conceded.
That's the way that it works there. And we saw Rezende go down in straight sets. Hollow One, just too mighty. We've seen it.
It definitely looked good. The reason it looked good in those games we watched is that even when it looked bad, it looked good.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously you were like, well, that was a busted draw. There's Hollow 1 and 2 Anglers and a 10 power and play turn 2. And yeah, we all know it's capable of those things. But we also watched games in which it did not do those things, and it still looked good. So I think that's the real strength of the deck. It's not how well it does when he draws its busted hands. It's how well it does when he does not do that, and it was good enough.
Yeah, it has a very high floor. The lowest performance it can put in is generally going to be pretty good.
Yeah, against a lot of decks, yes.
We've got another Time Walk match. Let's get to it. More Magic coming your way here from GP Sao Paulo in Brazil. And we're going to check in now with Leonardo Almeida and Danilo Sousa. Both of these guys, obviously, in the first... Whoa. Let's get something going here on turn number 1. And it looks like it's going to be Chalice of the Void for 1 here.
Is this Legacy?
This is huge. This cuts off so many decks immediately.
Yeah, and Steam Vents is probably one of the lands you want your opponent to lead with if you have a Chalice on 1. Because it could be, Storm. Chalice is good against Storm. It could be Death Shadow.
In which it's just an absolute auto win.
Oh, they almost can't win.
And even against something like Jeskai Control, still pretty good.
Yeah, that is basically a legacy deck there for Leonardo.
Looks like it, as we see a Ritual into Goblin Rabblemaster now, and Almeida is really ready to turn the screws. We just slow this one down so you can enjoy every last second of this onslaught here. As Sousa takes 1, but he's going to take a lot more in the coming turns.
Oh yeah, and at the same time, if he does find an answer for that Rabblemaster, obviously it cannot cost 1. But if there is, a Terminate, or something like that, then I feel like Leonardo just has one card in hand and hasn't that much. But it doesn't look like there is an answer. Or is
he's got an Izzet Charm.
Oh, that is an Izzet Charm?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's a nice one. Not one that we see all the time here. Whoa, 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 says Daniel Sousa. Shock this guy. Can I tell you a story about Izzet Charm one time?
I've never seen that Izzet Charm. Where is it from?
I think that was one of the promo versions.
But from where?
Well, it's from Return to Ravnica. I think it was like maybe the Game Day promo or something like that. You don't play a lot of Game Days, so maybe...
I do not. But yeah, it could be,
So I was playing in a tournament one time. And in the game next to me, an opponent played... so the two guys playing each other. And one guy plays... I can't remember exactly what it was, but like an expensive Planeswalker, right? Taps out for it. And the guy sitting next to me is deeply, deeply troubled by this. He's like, I need to find an answer. I need to find an answer to this card. Okay, so in response, I'll cast Izzet Charm. Digging for a counterspell. Digging, but no. Surely enough, didn't find an answer to that Planeswalker and lost the game as a result. So Izzet Charm not always going to get you there. When you don't read the text on the card, Paulo.
Yeah, remember, see, if he'd followed my advice, my sage advice from the beginning of the stream, well, at least now this person is watching and knows.
He's a Snapcaster Mage, going to flashback that Izzet Charm by the look of things, take care of the Goblin.
Oh, that sounds unconventional to me. Because, like, why do you... What's going on? Why do you care about that 1/1? Like, would you rather draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards that will not do anything because there's a Chalice in play?
That's a great point, seeing as Sousa is holding on to Opt and Lightning Bolt. Here's Chandra Torch of Defiance now, and Sousa, half of his hand does stone cold nothing here. That Izzet Charm should be exiled, by the way.
Wouldn't it be good to have Zenith Charm to counter that Chandra here? Instead of, that 1/1? That sounds okay to me.
It seems like people just do not know that Izzet Charm can act as a spell pierce. They get to like the Faithless Looting, like, oh, that's good. Shock. Oh, I don't need to read the rest of the card. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it is it does have very powerful effects. We even splashed for it once in our Scape Shift deck. It was,
back in the day.
It was green, red, splashing blue for Izzet Charm.
Team Escape Shift back in the good old days.
Yeah. Also, the Izzet Charm does have to be exiled, but I think just skipping track.
The Izzet Charm, it's the first mode. The Spell Pierce is the first mode on the card.
Oh, you mean it's written different? Yeah. Yeah. But it's not the default one that you use it for usually. No, I mean, I guess it kind of is. This is not one of those cards. It's not Azorius Charm.
No.
When there's a hidden mode.
Yeah.
Like, you do use all 3 modes fairly often. So it's like having a Cryptic Command and not knowing you can bounce. Like, you just use that mode.
Yeah, exactly. You know all of them. Here's a Remand now for this Trinisphere that was cast off of a Pyretic Ritual. So that's a nice exchange for Sousa, as he essentially 2-for-1s his opponent. Here's a Cryptic Command off the top as well. That is step number 1. These are the cards that he needs to get himself back into this.
Yeah, and Cryptic Command, gets to return the Chalice, and then he can cast all his 1-mana spells, which currently are 2 Opts and a Bolt. There's also an Emrakul for him, so if he ever finds... I assume through the bridge that is in his deck, he is just going to win the game.
So things looking a little bit better here for Sousa. Again, that Izzet Charm in the bin, should be exiled. This is Time Walk Magic. We're unable, unfortunately, to fix that mistake. Here's a Hazoret the Fervent off the top now for Chandra. Is this standard? Are we playing Legacy, Modern, or Standard here?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice here because Danilo could just bounce the Chalice and then, have a turn to draw an answer for the Chandra, but even if he doesn't, he can just bolt the Chandra. So it's not like Chandra's going to ultimate, versus he can just bounce the Chandra and then remand it on the way back.
I don't know how much I like that, to be honest.
I think I would have gone with bouncing the Chalice here.
Yeah, just unlock your hand.
Yeah, I mean, you do get to cast 2 Opts, and you're trying to find specific cards. You can't necessarily remand the Chalice twice next turn, which is annoying, whereas the Chandra you can just remand, but
just unlock your hand, get some value out of those cards that are doing nothing otherwise. Here's Jace the Mind Sculptor, now going to Brainstorm. So if Sousa has a fetch land, this is going to be another way for him to get rid of those dead Opts and Bolts if he chooses. Finds a Scalding Tarn as well, so this is better stuff from him.
Yeah, he really just wanted a land to be able to remand that Chandra on the way back, and as long as he found any land, he'd be happy. And obviously a fetch land is even better. And this game seems like it's completely, out of Leonardo's grasp. I don't believe there's much he can do anymore, which is the downside of, those... Oh, he did not play the fetch land.
Didn't play the fetch land. He looks like he wants
to draw the Opts.
Wants to draw those Opts again.
I mean, I wouldn't, but...
well, I mean, he's being featured in round 2 of a modern GP, Paulo. What have you ever done with your Magic career? You know, who are we going to believe here?
Yeah, I think he probably just didn't realize that. I don't know. I don't really have a good explanation. He's actually going to draw both because he's going to play Remand here. So it's 2 fresh cards he could have had, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. And that is the problem with Leonardo's deck. You know, his hand was amazing. He had a turn 1 Chalice. They had a turn 2 the Rebel Master, which is a good threat. Then he resolved the Chandra, stuck it in play for 2 turns, had a Trinisphere, and then just because the opponent dealt with one of his cards, it's like he dealt with all of them. You know, none of those cards actually do anything if they deal with your, 1 or 2 threats. And that is the risk you take when you run a prison deck. And especially risky in Modern, where you're not using Ancient Tomb and City of Traders to accelerate those cards. You're using a ritual that is gone.
Like actual real cards.
Yeah, so if you ritual in a Rebel Master and they kill it, they 2-for-1 you.
Or as we saw there, even a Remand is fantastic in the face of a Pyretic Ritual into a bigger threat. Sousa has really turned the screws. And there goes that is a charm. Nice stuff there from Sousa. Better late than never. As a Scalding Tarn fetches out a Mountain. I'm not without criticism of the way that Danilo Sousa has played this game, however, because those lands that he is playing, oh my goodness me, we've got black bordered, we've got white bordered, we've got no borders.
Oh, I love that.
I hate it. I hate it, and I hate you for loving it.
You know, it's a big thing. People actually, they're like, oh, how do you get your basic land?
You go to the land station.
I just go to the land station, obviously. You're
the actual worst.
Dude, they're giving it up for free. What am I supposed to do?
You've got to get your value by getting basic lands out of the land station?
Yeah.
You're the worst.
Yeah,
I remember commentating when Seth Manford had you 2-0 against the ropes at PT Hour of Devastation. I'm there going, look at this bloke. He's mulligan to 5. He's never going to win. His mountains don't match. What an absolute goose. And then you won the Pro Tour, made us all look like a fool. But I tell you what, you didn't deserve it because your mountains were mismatched.
And it was interesting. After I won that PT, one of my mountains happened to be in Japanese because I got it for like a draft.
From the Japanese line box or whatever, yeah.
And then I did an interview for Nico Nico with just a Japanese broadcast, and they're like, "Oh, the fans are really excited that you have a Japanese mountain in your deck. What's the story behind that?" And I'm like, "Well, I love Japan, and also I randomly got it from the land box, but I do love Japan."
Oh dear.
But I'm sorry, it doesn't actually have a big story, but
you're the actual worst. Here is now a damping field for.
Why am I the worst? I do love Japan. It wasn't a lie.
For Almeida, who has chosen to go with snow-covered forests. Wonder if he's got any screds going on in his deck here.
I think that's unlikely. It's not really a scred deck.
No, not really. You need like Boros Reckoner and that sort of stuff to make scred really good.
Yeah, and also it isn't a deck that I think is going to play a lot of lands. And there's also Gemstone Cavern. Like, you're trying to ritual and Summon Spirit guide things out. Yeah. You're not trying to play 6 lands, so I might as well just play Lightning Bolt at that point.
So Ensnaring Bridge now the play for Almeida, who is off to a bit of a slower start.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of things going on. The only problem is that none of them do anything. So, that part could be improved, but if he ever finds a card that does something, I guess now it can't be Hazra either because that can't attack.
Defense Grid, a nice one against any of those sort of draw-go style decks, counterspell decks, anything that's looking to, play a bunch of instants. It's going to be a difficult card for Sousa to navigate, and it's not the end of the world, but it does make things a little bit more difficult for Sousa to play his game optimally, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he can still, opt main phase and things like that, but it takes a long time before he can cast a Cryptic. And I believe that is a Torpor Orb, which, will stop Snapcaster Mage and potentially Vendilion Click. It's probably not why it's in the sideboard, but Leonardo probably just had bad cards and he had to take out. So.
Yeah, and this does at least the Torpor Herb does at least something.
Yeah, and that Desolated Lighthouse is going to be pretty good in this draw-go game.
I like that a lot. Yeah, of course, discarding those dead cards, giving Sousa access to cards that he might find a little bit more impactful. Now, here is a Koth of the Hammer.
Yeah, watch out those alternate arts. I can't recognize anything.
Looks like Sousa is... does he have a response to this? I mean, even something like a Remand isn't going to do it because of that defense grid.
I don't believe he does. I think he does have 2 bolts, so he can just bolt it twice, either one in the turn, one... Oh no, is that an Anger of the Gods or a bolt?
looks like it's double bolt.
Okay, so he can definitely deal with it. It looks like he only has one red source, so he has to use his, end of the turn to bolt now. That can't attack.
The mountain, no.
Yeah.
No. So just untaps a mountain.
Yeah, also no rush. A bit of a no-bolt there for Leonardo. And
playing out an ensnaring bridge and then following it up by an aggressive red planeswalker. Yeah, he's bolt number 1 now for Sousa.
Yeah, he's not actually in a rush now because next turn the mountain can't attack either. So he might even have used Lighthouse there and just hope to draw red source and double bolt in your turn, because if you don't draw the other red source, is not a disaster. And if you do, it's like you get to bolt now and use the Lighthouse anyway, so it works out.
Because all Koth does at the moment is +1 untap target mountain.
Yeah, and at this point I don't think you even want to bolt because you have remaining in your hand that you can actually cast now because you have 5 lands.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny, you look at Leonardo's board and it's like 2 cards that don't do anything and then 1 card that hurts his own card.
Yeah.
So, which makes it not do anything. So he did a lot, but he's not accomplishing anything. And yeah, I would not have bolted there, I don't think. I don't think that Koth is a threat at all. And you'd rather keep Remanda, because why don't you just play a Chandra now? Now you have no response.
And then Chandra is actually a respectable threat that's going to get it done.
Oh, there you go.
There it is, straight from the hip here as we see the Torch of Defiance come down, and Sousa's going to be kicking himself because, of course, that Remand, does Stone Cold nothing. He cannot cast it thanks to the defense grid.
Yeah, his best plan here is probably, get to 7 mana, Cryptic Command, Dead Ensnaring Bridge at the end of the turn, and then play through the Bridge Emrakul. And, which won't actually win the game, because Leonardo is not taking any damage, and does seem to have a bunch of permanents that do nothing anyway to sacrifice. And he might still just, lose to a Chandra Old Mate. He might have to attack Chandra with Emrakul, which, will probably be a first.
So, Sousa discards Emrakul. Of course, going to shuffle away those bolts, put them back in the library. Handy stuff, of course. I'm sure he'll be happy to redraw them. And the Emrakul graveyard trigger, well, I don't know, it's one of those things that provides you with this weird random upside every now and again, but in a deck with Snapcaster Mage, sometimes it can be kind of awkward.
Oh yeah, I think it's usually more of a downside than an upside. Like, no one's trying to mill you, and it's the reason why Emrakul is so awkward in a deck like those Glorious Vengeance decks. Because what if you just discard Emrakul and you aren't ready to combo the same turn? You just shuffle your whole library, like... Sometimes, you have Snapcasters, they Thoughtseize your Emrakul.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, or in Legacy, it's very interesting. Like, they Thoughtseize you, or Couple Therapy, or Dress, or whatever, and then you Brainstorm, and you hide away your best cards, so they can't take it with the discard, but then they take the Emrakul, and they force you to shuffle those cards anyway. The Stormwrath Dragon.
Hello.
Unfortunately, can't attack, because of the Ensnaring Bridge, but...
I like Stormwrath Dragon a lot in Modern, because just nothing kills it.
That is true, but...
there's nothing at 1 mana that can kill it.
Well, but does there have to be? It costs
no, but
5.
I mean, there are so many threats that you play in Modern that can be easily outpaced with the answers you have. I mean, even stuff like Gurmag Angler can be hit by Path to Exile, but Stormwrath Dragon is incredibly resilient to the most played removal in Modern. Yeah, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, and Path don't kill it. Yeah,
that is true. It is very hard to kill. Yeah, it is definitely a powerful card. And we're actually talking about, I have a friend who's playing Blue-White in this tournament, and it's like, should I play Lyra or Baneslayer in my sideboard? And we're like, well, you have 2, you should probably play one of each. And they're like, well, protection from dragons and demons isn't going to do anything because it just beats all those in combat anyway. And we're like, well, actually, there's Stormwrath Dragon, so they can't block. You can't block it, but they also can't block if you have Baneslayer. So that makes Baneslayer a bit better.
Goblin coming in under that Ensnaring Bridge. I guess there is a 1 mana removal spell that does kill Stormwrath Dragon. Dismember.
Scred.
Scred gets it. Scred gets it. There you go. That's the tech.
Yeah. No, also, he has Chalice of the Void in his deck. He's playing it for 1.
Oh, yeah. He's probably not playing
so
Scred.
There's no Scred either.
There's no Screds.
Yeah, that Stormwrath Dragon is not going to do much. It's just going to be, -3 counters off of Chandra. Probably. Maybe even not. There's a choice whether Leonardo wants to do that or not. Probably wouldn't, because it's so close to ultimating anyway. then you might as well just do that.
So land off the top now to that Chandra.
Yeah, but now Danilo actually gets to ultimate the Monster the Storm Breath, if he wants to. And that can't damage Chandra anymore.
It can't damage Chandra, no.
Oh yeah,
no, it actually because it says each opponent.
Okay, so he used to be able to damage Chandra, but now he can't.
Redirected, but now it can't. Yep. So Chandra, not the only card that gets nerfed by the recent Planeswalker damage rules, because Stormbreath Dragon, can't cut the Torch of Defiance down to size. We may see a Chandra emblem ultimately winning this game here, Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, there is a cryptic command for Vanilla, so...
Here's a Walking Ballista for 2.
I think I would lean towards playing the Snaring Bridge here. Like, I don't think the Ballista is doing any... That really has another Snaring Bridge in hand. I don't think the Ballista is doing anything for you. And you just want to make sure that Chandra doesn't get attacked.
So 2 goblins attacking. One gets eaten up by the Stormbreath Dragon there. Smaug has a bit of a chomp on one of the villages of Lakeside there.
And one of the what?
Have you read The Hobbit?
Oh, I have.
Yeah. You know, Smaug comes down and destroys Lakeside.
Oh, Lakeside, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I actually read a cartoon version of The Hobbit when I was really young.
It's so good. The comic book?
Yeah.
It's so good, dude. Oh, my goodness me. I found this at the Yarra Public Library in Richmond, Victoria, right? And I borrowed it, and then I returned it and wanted to borrow it again. I could never find it again anywhere ever. And then when I was like 24, I found it in a bookshop somewhere, and I couldn't believe it. Because like I was at a point where, because I read this when I was 8, and I was like, did it even exist? Like, did I just make up this, when I'm reading Tintin and Asterix and everything, did I just make up this Hobbit comic book? It's a real thing. It's incredible. I mean, The Hobbit is one of my all-time favorite books, and the comic book version is, it's amazing. It's so good.
Wow, that was a lot. You were so much more excited by that than I ever imagined. I believe I'm experiencing the hype train that I was promised.
Oh yeah, there it is. Here's that cryptic command you mentioned there, Paulo.
And how do you think the movie compares? The
movie's fine. It's beautiful to watch. There's some stuff that's just kind of annoying, like that, to put all this other nonsense about, you know, what's his name, Legolas and all that other stuff in it there. But look, whatever. It's a beautiful, wonderful story. It essentially kicked off this genre. Like, this genre that everyone involved in Magic has a deep and abiding love for. Fantasy was made real by The Hobbit. And you can't... I mean, I've got a Hobbit tattoo. Like, this is not a...
You do?
I do. I'm showing it to you now. It's the front page of The Hobbit.
Oh, yeah, he is showing me. I can confirm.
Like,
there's a Hobbit tattoo.
This book is huge. So, yeah. No, I do get very excited about it.
It was just surprising.
Oh, dude, I love The Hobbit, man.
I admit I love Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit is kind of like, much worse to me. Okay. I still enjoyed it.
We're going to talk about this.
I'm sorry.
No, we're going to chat about this.
Because
one of the things that sort of kicked off a bit of a friendship between the two of us is me reading the books that you'd suggested in one of your top 5 articles.
Okay.
I read what is the one where they've got the heart, like the Immortals?
Yeah, the Immortal Prince.
The Immortal Prince. I read that, and that was amazing. And then, we got talking about that, but I'm very, very sorry to hear that we're on different pages when it comes to The Hobbit.
Sorry, some people like The Hobbit, some people like Landbox Lands.
Oh, my goodness.
There's stuff for anybody out there.
All right, we're going to have a big chat around this during our off-camera round. Here's Goblin Rabblemaster getting in. What is this, my friend? So, attacking, even with that Ensnaring Bridge in hand, looks like Almeida has enough cards in hand for this to come across. That Stormbreath Dragon also getting busy here. So Ensnaring Bridge doing stone cold nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be bounced, right? Is that Scalding Tarn in play? Or is it in the graveyard?
It's somewhere, dude.
Is it in the second graveyard? Or in play? Because if it's in play, it's really awkward that he tapped the Lighthouse instead of, a land. But Danilo is actually just dying.
Yeah, he's on 4. It's not looking good for him here. And another Ensnaring Bridge. Is that a mismatch Ensnaring Bridge too? How do you feel about that one?
Well, on principle, I have no issue with it. But strategically speaking, it's bad.
Yes, good.
Because, now they know you have, if you play one in game 1 and another one in game 2, they know you have 2 copies at least. Sometimes they thought sees you, they see an Ensnaring Bridge, and you write down, okay, that's one Ensnaring Bridge. Then, 3 turns later, you draw another one, you're like, oh, wait, I don't know which one they saw.
Yeah.
And they will know.
They will know.
And then we'll just play another one, and they'll be like, "Yeah, God, no, it's not your hand. You're so stupid."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yes, I am."
Yes, I am.
No, speaking from experience.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
You're completely right. I am stupid. But yeah.
Looks like that Scalding Tarn is in fact in play here, Paulo, as we see a second one enter the battlefield as well.
I'm not sure what happened here. Was it 2 Shimi Spirit Guides? I believe that's what happened. It was like 2 Shimi Spirit Guides?
Yeah, he used 2 City
Okay.
Spirit Guides.
I was going to say maybe he used Chandra, but then he just killed Danilo. Danilo's just dead here, obviously.
Well, we have a cryptic command in hand is basically all that Sousa has to work with, in addition, on a double cryptic as well.
Well, that doesn't help, though, because there's Chandra and Walking Ballista on 2. So
Yeah.
that's already lethal without any attack phases.
So, 2 damage upstairs. And I bet Sousa wish he had a disallow here, because that Walking Ballista is going to end things. And Sousa needs to tap down the team here if he wants to stay alive through this combat step. But again, that Walking Ballista is just a walking death sentence here.
Yeah, he's just dead.
Let's see what's up now. So now we have Strong Breath Dragon, but it's not enough, and Danielo Sousa recognizes that the writing is on the wall, and these guys even things up. But unfortunately, my friends, we are all out of time here for Time Walk Magic. So after seeing games number 1 and number 2, as we welcome you back to the booth, we can confirm that Danielo Sousa did manage to pick up game number 3, and therefore continues undefeated to the 3rd round. Well, we saw some pretty high-end sort of tier 1 decks in the format. We saw Tron, we saw Hollow One, and then we saw Strong Breath Dragons and Torpor Orbs. We've had a pretty robust picture of the format so far, Paulo.
We have, and that's what the format is, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if you just go, oh, the 9-0 decks, there's that blue-red to the Reach Emrakul deck.
Yeah.
And that just happens.
That's just how it goes. We'll see how things pan out, my friends. We are going to take a break right now. And after this, of course, Tim Willoughby will be joined by Lucas Espabatu in the booth. So you're not going to want to miss a moment of round number 3 here at GP Sao Paulo. We'll be back in just a few moments.